Hello, this is Stefan again from schristoph.online. Today we'll talk about my latest blog post, the first in a short series called Laws and Disorder. We're starting with Conway's law, the idea that your org chart is your real architecture and how AI is quietly redrawing both. Melvin Conway put it plainly back in 1968. An organization is constrained to build systems that copy its own communication structure. In plain terms, if you have a front-end team, a back-end team, and a database team, you will ship a 3-tier app and the painful integration seams land exactly where the teams stop talking. This diagram is the whole idea in one picture. On the left is the org chart. A front-end team, a back-end team, a database team. On the right is the system they built tier for tier. The org on the left casts the system on the right, so if you want a different system, you reshape the left. On AWS, this stops being abstract. It shows up in two very concrete places, where you draw service boundaries and where you draw account boundaries. When one team owns a service end to end, the API stays clean because one group feels every rough edge. Draw account boundaries against the grain of your teams and you spend the next year fighting cross-team friction wearing an IAM costume. Here's the move most people miss. If architecture follows communication structure, the highest impact architectural decision is often a team decision. That's the Inverse Conway Maneuver. Reshape the org into the shape you want the software to take and let Conway's law work for you. Amazon's 2 pizza teams are the cleanest example, small teams owning a service end-to-end, and the service-oriented architecture followed from that. You might be thinking, does this mean microservices are always the right answer? No, and I'm careful about that in the post. A monolith owned by one small, tightly communicating team is Conway correct, because it matches its communication structure. The failure mode isn't monoliths versus microservices, it's a mismatch between the shape of your teams and the shape you keep forcing onto the software. Now, the part I find genuinely open, and I flag it clearly as my reading as of 2026, not settled fact. Conway's law runs on a cost. Coordinating across a team boundary is expensive, and architecture hardens along those lines to avoid it. AI coding assistants lower that coordination cost, and the org now includes non-human nodes, fleets of agents talking to agents. A fair critical question. The AI section is speculation, so why include it at all? Because the honest move is to pose the question on purpose, rather than discover the answer a year later in an architecture review. I argue it both ways and hold both. The optimistic read is that AI finally lets architecture escape the org chart. The skeptical read is that AI just entrenches the existing silos faster at machine speed. So how do you apply this on AWS? Aim for one team per service with a clean contract at the edge through API gateway or events over event bridge. Align your AWS organization's account boundaries with team ownership, not an org-neutral ideal. And in architecture reviews, when you find tight coupling, add team structure to the list of root causes you check. It's frequently the real one. This whole post rests on Conway's original 1968 paper, How Do Committees Invent? Harvard Business Review turned it down, and it ran in Datamation instead. It's short and worth reading in full. The source of the line that organizations are constrained to produce designs that copy their own communication structures. Martin Fowler's Explainer is the other reference I'd point you to. It's a clear write-up of Conway's law and the Inverse Conway Maneuver, the deliberate move of shaping teams to get the architecture you actually want. Thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. If so, you can reach out on LinkedIn directly or head to my blog at schristoph.online. Let's keep in touch. Take care.